Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. We've got a great presentation here. I've got my friends over at Cloud9 ERP Solutions, Russell and Samantha, and today we'll be talking about it's more of a fireside chat, sort of open dialogue around the things that the Cloud9 team sees when people are outgrowing QuickBooks, right? The different challenges, and then what happens when, let's say, a standard connector or standard integration into Acumatica starts to maybe not accommodate the different customizations and edge cases and use cases that pop up when trying to integrate into Acumatica. So welcome, Russ. Welcome, Samantha. And maybe let's take a couple minutes to have you introduce yourselves, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first because, of course, ladies first, right, Dave and Russ?
Yeah, that's right.
So my name is Samantha DeForge. I'm the VP of Sales here at Cloud9 ERP Solutions. I have about 13 years of ERP experience working with competitive products to Acumatica. Historically, I have worked and implemented ERP. I have worked the trenches. I have implemented customers like yourself and future clients potentially like yourselves on ERP platforms that have been integrated with e-commerce in all sorts of capacities, using an iPaaS, not using an iPaaS. And then, of course, as of more recently within the Acumatica solution, using our native connectors to Amazon, Shopify, BigCommerce, and then, of course, still using an iPaaS when it's needed. So really excited to be here to show you how Acumatica can help you guys manage your QuickBooks growth.
And I'm Russ Willem from Cloud9 ERP. I've spent the better years of past 25, 26 years in e-commerce. Started back before there was an Amazon and only an eBay. So kind of grew up in the e-commerce world. So my current title is development manager and e-commerce specialist. So like Samantha said, we're here to talk a little bit about the challenges that ERP companies have. And I've also been on your side of the fence. A lot of the audience members looking today as a customer of softwares and also running a business, sitting on the other side. So, I understand the challenges, the day-to-day issues when it comes to running, e-commerce websites and the complexity that can come along with e-commerce. A lot of people think that e-commerce is like, making money while you sleep. And it's far from the truth. There's lots and lots of complexity, and today's software tools are getting better and better to handle that. And iPaaS becomes part of that great integrated solution that we're able to bring to our customers.
Awesome. And so I'm Dave Malda, just for those that don't know me. And I've been in the integration space, EDI, e-commerce integrations into many, many different ERPs, including Acumatica for around 17, 18 years. So very familiar with all the nuances and all the different things that come up when you're looking to have these systems talk together so that you can get visibility, so that you can run your business smoothly, and so that ultimately your customer experience on the other end is one that's good and pleasant for those that are interacting with you and buying things from you. So maybe Russ, Samantha, let's talk a little bit about outgrowing QuickBooks. What are some of the things that you've seen in your day-to-day where you start to hear these sort of words where you go, okay, I know they're kind of pulling their hair out and at the limit for moving to something that is a little better in, say, Acumatica, for example.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. So I'll go ahead and get started on this because obviously we speak with so many clients and future clients on a day-to-day basis, especially being in the sales department. So one of the biggest things we hear is spreadsheets and Excel, piecing businesses together and holding them together like duct tape covering, a leak that's coming from your roof. So, a lot of people think that Excel spreadsheets are free, but the reality is there's a lot of components that go into Excel, and a lot of businesses managing inventory or reporting and bridging the gap in some capacity. And Excel is just not free. It's not a free tool. And oftentimes the missed costs are the integrations, which are people. So people tend to actually bridge the gaps between disparate systems. And those are the expensive integrations and the indirect costs that you're not actually seeing as a tangible piece of software. So,
Right.
Are you paying $50,000 a year for someone to take e-commerce orders and load them into your QuickBooks or update your inventory as you ship things out the door? That's a ridiculous cost, right? That's just insane. But people don't think about that because they just think it's general overhead that comes with the realm of running an e-commerce organization. That would probably be the biggest one.
Okay.
Non-integrated solutions, non-integrated shipping, non-integrated inventory, non-integrated financials. Remember, operations drives accounting, right? There is nothing to account on if you don't have operations. That's just the reality of it, right? So we often get into these situations where business owners actually have no idea where they stand financially. They might be losing money, they might be doing really well, but they have zero thought or recollection of what's going on in their business. We're working with a company today that's actively evaluating Acumatica. And one of the pieces of feedback that we heard last week is a nutraceutical company. He goes, I'm bleeding money and I have no idea where that's coming from. That's
Right.
a red flag, right?
Right.
That is something that disconnected systems, spreadsheets, QuickBooks, Xero, that's not going to help you. You need a one size business solution or one solution to run your entire company. And that's what so many businesses look to do after they've messed up, done the multiple systems, and then they go, yeah, you know what, those cheap systems that we bought, they're actually not that affordable anymore. We should have done this whole thing all in one and had everything from the ground up. And that's
Right.
typically what we see is companies getting away, moving to an all-in-one platform. But I don't know, Russ, if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I mean, what I see all the time, especially when it comes to things like Amazon and advertising fees and storage fees and understanding what their end-to-end cost really is for managing their business. So there's a lot of hidden little fees. I mean, down to the cost of, boxes and, bubble wrap and dunnage and postage and, in addition to what Samantha referred to as elbow grease, I like to call it elbow grease, the most expensive type of grease there is, gallon per gallon. There's a lot of hidden costs, and we had one business telling us, I sell something for $100, and before I even get any money, Amazon takes half of the damn thing, and it's like, well, what's left for me? Hopefully your margins are stacked. And I was at a conference recently, and there was a round table, and the one person said, well, how do you price your product? And I said, well, what's your contribution margin? And they just kind of looked, and they didn't know what a contribution margin really was or how to calculate it. And
Right.
those are the type of things that, bringing a unified system together with tied in financials, you can see dollar for dollar and dime for dime where it's going in each department and how it's hitting or not hitting your bottom line. We
Yeah.
used to say, don't work too hard at selling yourself out of business. And that's easy to do when your costs outweigh your income, which Acumatica helps to pinpoint those leaks Samantha was talking about.
Yeah,
That's
there's so many ways to enhance your e-commerce. And just to conclude that thought, right? Settlement reports. These are reports that take hours of reconciliation for Amazon sellers. If you're selling on Shopify, you're likely selling on Amazon. And if you're not, you should be because your competitors are. But getting down to that granular journal entry for the cost of every sale that you do is going to make you one step further ahead in your journey. But people can't do that because the reconciliation is done at batch in a mass journal entry coming into QuickBooks from Amazon, and boom, Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, all great points. I think, as we were talking this through, one thing that kind of popped into my head was, there's these struggles with basic ERPs, and you start to see these red flags and these things that are starting to become time consuming. And it's no different on the integration side, right? I think red flags, things that we see in our day to day, are when maybe there's a certain edge case or a use case that doesn't quite fit into, like, I'll call it a standard integration, right? Something that's come out of the box, and you need that flexibility to handle things like a settlement report, right? Those are very time consuming if you're doing them manually, and there's different ways you can get integrations that will just automate those types of things, right? And so maybe you're going through and you're checking things to make sure everything is validated and everything came over properly, but you're not in the weeds in a spreadsheet doing calculations or adding things up, right? So I think all really great points. Now, maybe Samantha or Russ, why don't you tell us a little bit about the experience that you all have over at Cloud9 and what you bring to the table?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things we like to mention is that we are a mid-sized partner. We're not a massive partner. We're not a small partner, but we're right in the middle. And we are Acumatica only. We bleed Acumatica blue. We feel it's the best solution for small to mid-sized organizations in the ecosystem. And we're helping businesses reap the benefits of leveraging a gap compliant integrated business solution for their business and e-commerce needs. So we were founded in 2013 by our CEO, Greg Mercedes. We're spread out across primarily North America, across the United States and Canada. You might hear me say process, so I am just outside of Toronto. And then we do have development labs and industry folks in India, but also Dubai and a little bit in the Middle East these days. But we are primarily, I think, a Canadian heavy focus organization now, but our headquarters is based in Stamford, Connecticut. And we do all things Acumatica, targeting distribution, manufacturing, e-commerce, construction, and field services. So that's a little bit about us. Moving on, we focus on migrating clients in a phased implementation methodology approach. So, most of our customers, I would probably say 75% are coming off of QuickBooks or Xero or something like a Sage 50, Peachtree, Simply Accounting, a very small accounting package. But most of them are coming off of QuickBooks. Now, QuickBooks, we all know, is not GAAP compliant, and that can, cause a little bit of havoc if you're actually looking to sell your company in the coming years, you're looking to increase company valuation, perhaps you're looking to make investments and you'll need a few loans from the bank. Banks don't like QuickBooks because it's not GAAP compliant, right? Going in and changing the total on an invoice and then not having any sort of audit trail behind that, screams red flags for most bankers and investors.
Okay.
So with Acumatica, we do have a small business editions. We call it the Essentials licensing, and it starts at 5 users. So you don't have to be, a 50 employee plus company to reap the benefits of an integrated ERP solution. The other challenges, that QuickBooks might have today that maybe your users or your customers are having, or perhaps you are a customer, is that you're not having those native connectors to Shopify, Amazon, and BigCommerce. Now, in the realm of, iPass.com, we have the ability to also integrate and actually develop those complexities, those nuances through the use of an iPass tool. But it's all about doing more with less. You don't want to actually overexert your overhead, your technology overhead, but leveraging what happens and exists core today in the application. For instance, with Acumatica's native Shopify, Amazon, or BigCommerce connectors, it's a great place to start. And then expand where you need to with a solution like iPass.com if there are nuances. So that is the benefit that you'll get migrating to Acumatica from QuickBooks ultimately. Now, moving on again, implementation options. You've got 3 of them here at Cloud9. So one of the things that we've actually done as of recent is generated our Swift implementation program that's right in the middle. I'll cover off the QuickBooks migration tool here shortly. But our Swift implementation programs are more of a do-it-yourself, drive-it-yourself implementation with also our guidance. It's really about getting into a pre-canned solution. So if you're able to adopt a simple chart of account, you're willing to do a little bit more legwork than a traditional white glove service would, the SIP is an actually great solution. We've just launched this at the end of the summer of this year. We're very excited. We see a lot of companies looking to leverage this. But what happens with this is it comes with a much lower price tag. In addition to that, we also have a QuickBooks migration tool that can actually be working with that in tandem. So if you're just looking to replicate what you have in QuickBooks today and move it over to something GAAP compliant, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and lightning fast, the QuickBooks migration tool is a great product for that. It also works with products like Great Plains. There are some basic Sage products it works with, but of course, in the realm of QuickBooks, it's something that we see. We do offer that. And then we do also offer our white glove implementation service. And I hate the word white glove. I think it's really been beaten to death. Someone used it on me the other day. I'm like, wow, you're very self-serving for saying that. But what we mean by white glove is it's really that end-to-end solution, right? That's where you're going to get consultants. You're going to get business advisors telling you what to do, how to do it, best practices, industry best practices to really get you up a step up higher above your competitors, right? So that's what you'll see in that white glove implementation service, but that's really what the benefits of it. So you've got those 3 tiers. And if you are smaller, SIP could be a very, very good option. If you're gambling on the fine line between SIP and the white glove, you could be maybe in a little bit of a hybrid. And then of course we have the true end-to-end implementation options available.
And that's where like myself and the team comes in when we could recommend solutions such as iPass when the native capabilities of Acumatica doesn't meet the specific needs of the business. And we can do that either through integrations or customizations or a combination of both. And sometimes you'll find there's complex things that people need to handle, like complex products or complex, size and color and extended kit combinations that maybe aren't handled natively. or they have, 50 plus websites where, there's going to be a need to handle, those connection integrations all in one place. So that's where an iPaaS can really come in and hit the mark for those extended options. And during that white glove implementation, like Samantha says, we'll be able to recommend partners and such as yourself, Dave, your company.
Yeah. And are there certain, I mean, these are all great points. I think, Russ, is there anything in when you're doing kind of this deep dive on the business, right? Are there areas where, there's sort of two spots, right? One is, okay, this is we'll call it a simple use case. There's not a lot of customizations. We're just maybe bringing orders from, let's call it Shopify or BigCommerce, and we're putting them into Acumatica, and everything's sort of quote unquote vanilla, right? So when you see that, you're like, okay, this is native. What we have out of the box probably solves that, right? Are there certain things that you hear or listen for and go, okay, we got to go tap iPaaS.com on the shoulder. This needs, something that's maybe able to handle some of the more complex things that are happening in these different like kind of business processes. Are there anything like things that stand out to you?
Yeah, so like complex kit products, complex swatch
Okay.
products, those type of things. When they start talking about gift cards and managing, those type of things and updating gift
Yep.
card balances between systems, those can start to come in, close your ears, Dave, but we do try to do native connectors first so that we
Yep.
have an ease of implementation. But then we have the option that if it doesn't fit the standard package, that we start to watch for those complexities. Sometimes in a B2B scenario, there's some complexities, and then there's maybe other partners other than Shopify that we'll bring in. And then maybe
Yep.
those other partners need an iPaaS style solution, or they need to merge together data from their e-commerce platform with their email service platform and send some notifications and things like that, using transactional emails, and they don't want to use the integrated solution, then an iPaaS would kind of come in for those type of things. So
Yeah.
anytime it's more than just passing sales orders and payments and tracking numbers back and forth, and you start to step outside, what I would call a t-shirt business,
Yep.
then we'll bring in partners such as yourself to,
Yeah.
start to fill that gap. That doesn't mean we can't handle complexity natively, but sometimes that complexity is just more than we want to accomplish through a customization or through a native connector.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like in my experience as well over the years, I've seen what you've described where let's just say, phase one of a journey for this business is getting the ERP migrated over to Acumatica, getting that set up, getting that running. And there's just so much, there's a lot of steps, and a lot of change for people that are using these systems that happens, right? And then, so my point being that some of these native connectors, we'll call them, they suffice for that phase one of the journey, right? Let's set this up. Let's get, the ERP in. Let's start to use it, and let's accommodate most of the heavy things that are happening transaction wise and data wise as far as movement. Let's try to get that as a phase one. And then phase two really is like, as you described, right? You not outgrow it, but you're now prepared for phase two, which is
Maybe
really going
for
like,
growth. Yeah,
yeah,
and let's take the t-shirt example as a
yep,
business model. In phase one of selling t-shirts, you may sell off the shelf t-shirts, small, medium, large, in a variety of colors. In phase two, you may be downloading user designs and handling those customized t-shirts or doing screen
right,
printing of some sort. And those are where the native connectors wouldn't really support, that customization of your product handling when it comes to communicating back and forth between a marketplace and or your website.
yeah. Yeah, great point, right? The business is growing, things are getting more complex. Maybe the ability to customize things on a t-shirt online, right? That just introduces so many different variables, right? And so that's where kind of, the two of us, our companies come together and help solve
That's right.
those issues, right? So I know we're getting close to wrapping up here, but while we were on here, one of the questions that came in was, um, what would you recommend the steps being for a business that's noticing we're sort of bursting at the seams here in our ERP? Things are starting to break. We're spending a lot of time doing manual data entry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have visibility into our business. What are those? We went through kind of some of the options after they find someone like Cloud9, but what would be a good sort of recommended set of steps to like, okay, we've identified this issue and now we want to go find someone like a Cloud9? What are those steps for people that are asking?
Let me unmute myself here first. The biggest thing that I'm going to say is, and I know everyone's thinking it, right? What does it cost, right? What does it cost to get onto a business solution? So the rule of thumb for traditional, end-to-end implementation, just so that people have a perspective, is 1 to 1.5% of your gross revenue, right?
Okay.
So expect to pay and invest that if you're looking for a true end-to-end solution. And then if you're qualifying for a SIP, a Swift implementation, it only goes down further from there, or a hybrid. It's only again, going to be further from below that as well. So that's your benchmark. That is what an ERP implementation should cost you. With the next steps, though, is, okay, once you've identified that's something that you're able to swallow, reach out to a handful of vendors. Look at a vendor that you feel good with, that aligns with your partnership goals. For instance, Cloud9, we're not a massive partner. We're a medium-sized partner. We're not looking to service thousands of customers. We're not looking for that Walmart experience that some customers want, right? Some customers want to call Verizon, get a new person every time, and work through that. That's not what we've decided as our business model. We're more of we're not a Walmart, but we're more of we're a boutique shop that sells, the high-end brands, the Louis Vuittons, the Chanels, whatever you might be into. But you'll come in, we'll give you a little bit of a personalized shopping experience as you can, shop around, and you can have a little bit more flexibility in your partnership. There is a time and a place for both, but that's just how we operate. So if you're looking for that rinse and repeat, we're not the partner for you. Okay. But if you're looking for a little bit more of an intimate setting, that's something you're going to see in a channel-driven model. The next step after that would be pick up the phone, call us, and ask questions. Be very transparent with your vendor. The more transparent you're going to be, the better your results are going to be. If you pick up the phone, call us, and say you're going to buy software in 30 days, you're going to get a very different experience. You're not going to get that, whole consultative approach. But pick up the call and say, listen, I saw this webinar. I was noodling on it. I'm not sure if this is something that makes sense for me. There are partners out there, including ourselves, who will spend 2 to 3 hours with you and your company to identify whether or not this is something that makes sense for not only you, but for us. Because obviously we certainly don't want to invest in, have a disgruntled client. So we do that as part of the journey and as part of the evaluation, but be very transparent with your vendors. Don't say you're looking to buy just so that you can get, the best pricing or whatever that might be. But say, I'm curious, and your vendor will likely take you down that path. We'll bring in folks like Russ to come in and speak as well. Sorry, go ahead, Russ.
And I would just say, to your point of being a consultative partner who really has a consulting kind of methodology and mentality, to quote, you don't know what you don't know. So by using somebody who fills in your knowledge gaps versus is just trying to get that license, sold to you, like Samantha said, we get the time to know your business. We become part of your business, and we just don't, just sell you a license. So definitely look for somebody who has deep expertise in, your industry and in business itself, and can solve complex challenges that we do with our partner stack.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, this does bring us to the end of our presentation. So Russ, Samantha, I want to say thank you to both of you for taking some time today, and obviously to the audience, taking time to listen to us and to allow us to share sort of what the journey looks like, and then the different ways that we're able to help, right? So we'll certainly share the different ways that you can reach out to us and get a hold of us. But again, thank you very much, everybody, and have a great Friday. Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.